All right, Mayor Bronin, go ahead.
All right, good afternoon, everybody. It is great to see you all. I'm sorry that we're not in person. I know we all wish we could be together down in Austin right now, but it is at least good to see you on screen. As you know, a little over a week ago, leadership of the Conference of Mayors decided for health and safety reasons to forego the in-person meeting. I think a responsible decision given the spread of the Delta variant. And while the in-person meetings are canceled, there were some meetings like this one of our standing committee meetings that were important to do virtually to make sure that our policy resolutions remain current and up to date. So I first want to welcome all of the mayors who are here, and in particular, all of the mayors of the standing Metro Economies Standing Committee. And I also want to make sure that everybody is aware that our virtual meeting is open to press, and I think we will be joined by some members of the press, and we're very glad to have them with us today. Today's meeting should be pretty brief. We're going to consider and take action on resolutions that were submitted prior to the August deadline, and then any new resolutions that members of our committee may wish to offer. I know we will have at least one of those. We're also very pleased to have our parliamentarian, Tim Wynn, here, who is with us in case we need him to get through any complications. So Tim, thank you and welcome to the meeting. And finally, let me just welcome any other city staff, business council members, and any guests who may be tuning in. So now, without further ado, it's a huge pleasure and a privilege to welcome to our committee meeting our president, Mayor of Dayton, Mayor Nan Whaley. And Mayor Whaley, welcome. Would love to turn it over to you for any welcoming remarks.
Thank you, Mayor Bronin, and thank you all for joining today. As Mayor Bronin said, I was looking so forward to seeing all of you in Austin and getting just the chance to really connect with everybody in a deeper way than we have over the past 18 months. But I do want to say how much I appreciate just the impressive attendance the mayors have had over countless Zooms and the support we've gotten from each other during the COVID pandemic using this technology. And special thanks to the staff who just continue to figure it out as we continue to get important work done like you all are getting ready to do on Metro Economies. And Mayor Bronin, I'm excited that this is your first meeting, right, chairing Metro Economies. I'm glad that you are the chair of this group as well. And know you all are in capable hands with your new leader as well. I also wanted to come in and just touch base. There is one resolution that is really important to me that both Mayor Romero and I co-sponsored, and that's resolution number 78 in this committee, which is the support of the PRO Act and the protecting the right to organize. As you all know, in our communities, we continue to see just incredible inequities. And we know that this gap between the rich and poor has reached a 50-year high. So before I was even born, we have to go back to show just this inequity in what wage and wealth gap. And research shows that this decline in union membership is a direct cause of the rise in economic inequality. And as we try as mayors to really bridge that gap, we know how important the right to organize and bargain together for changes in the workplace can make a big difference. As many of us have folks that we bargain with as mayors that provide services to our city as well. And we know just the protection of those rights are so key for regular people and workers. And so just encouraging you all as members of the Metro Economy Committee to support Mayor Romero's and I's resolution number 78 in its form. We are really, really proud of this, and we think it's important for mayors to stand with people that work every day and protect and encourage and make the right to organize easier, not harder. So I wanted to mention that on this call today. Hope we can count on your support for 78 in its current form. And good to see you all. And hey, Mayor Romero, good to see you. Thank you. I'm going to drop off because I don't have a vote on this committee, but wanted to make those points.
Before you go, Mayor, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for speaking so passionately in front of in favor of the PRO Act. I know that your position is shared by many of us, myself included, and grateful to you for joining to express that view. But most importantly, just before you go, I wanted to say thank you so much for your leadership of the Conference of Mayors and your incredible leadership this year in helping to ensure that cities and towns were not forgotten in the federal relief package. The work that you did was absolutely vital, and we're all deeply in debt. So, and also just so fortunate to have you leading the conference now. So thank you so much for everything. And again, thank you for joining us.
Great honor, you guys. Love you all and see you all soon. Bye.
Take care, Mayor. All right. I just pause for a second and see if we've been joined by our CEO and Executive Director, Tom Cochran. I know he plans to join, but he may not be on just yet, but obviously very grateful to him. And I also just want to say thanks to all of the U.S. Conference of Mayors staff who have worked behind the scenes to make this transition to virtual meetings possible and who are with us today. So thank you all so much. Now I'd like to just recognize our committee vice chair, great Mayor of Albuquerque, Mayor Tim Keller. Mayor, you'd like to offer any welcoming remarks?
Oh, thanks so much, Mr. Chairman, and great to hear from our president, of course. And, I would just briefly say that, I know all our cities, right, are going through these challenges, whether it's the spikes in violent crime and homelessness, or it's the return of COVID. And so I too was saying, I wish we could all be together, hopefully at some point soon. But just want to appreciate the mayors for the work they do. I try and copy everything good that you do in all your cities. And so thank you for giving me some good ideas from time to time. And lastly, I would just say for others listening, the cities really have, been at the nexus, of course, in America and all around the world, actually, of, the density challenges with respect to the pandemic, but also the economic recovery. And so I think this particular committee is especially important as we look forward to recovery and how we know that has to take place, typically, led by cities and city leaders. And so appreciate everyone for being on the Metro Economies Committee.
Great, thank you, Mayor Keller. And couldn't agree more. This is a time when the work and the advocacy of the U.S. Conference of Mayors in general is more important than it's ever been. I think we have the opportunity on this committee, given its scope, to play a leadership role in making sure that we're shining a light on those initiatives that will help our communities recover and heal and build back better in the wake of this unprecedented challenge we've been through. So couldn't agree with you more. And thank you, Mayor, for all your leadership. Before we move on to consider resolutions, let me just quickly call on David Burns to provide us with some technical guidance on how to participate in our virtual meeting today. David?
Great, thanks, Mayor. Thanks everyone for joining. The real kind of key highlights here is if you're going to cast your vote for a resolution, do so visually on screen, raising your hand. Just a reminder, only members of the committee can vote. And I know that we'll go through and just kind of reaffirm committee memberships in a short bit. If you want to register a no vote, you can do so in the Conference of Mayors mobile app. So just have that downloaded. If your account's verified and you're ready to go, just find the resolution and you'll be able to register your no vote there. So that's all I have. Thanks, Mayor.
Great. Thanks so much, David. So I'd now just like to give an opportunity for the members of the committee to introduce themselves. So can I just so you jump in and speak up and introduce yourself if you are a member of the Metro Economies Standing Committee.
I'll start. Andy Shore, Mayor of the City of Lansing in Michigan, capital city of Michigan, and a proud member of this committee and wish we could be in person.
Thanks, Andy.
Steve Ponto, Mayor of Brookfield, Wisconsin, a member of the committee.
Thanks, Mayor. And this is also serving as our informal roll call. So if you are a member of committee, please do say hello.
Chris Always, Mayor, City of Elizabeth, New Jersey.
Lauren Poe, Gainesville, Florida.
Mr. Chairman, quick question, Mayor Bronin. Am I a member of this committee?
Do you know?
Yes, you are. Yes, you
I
are.
am. Okay, great. Sorry about that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. All right. Well, let's move on.
We have, Mayor, we have Mayor Gary McCarthy, who is, would you introduce yourself?
Hello, glad to see everyone today and hope everyone's healthy and the cities are doing great and look forward to hopefully we can get together in Washington in January.
Let's all hope so. I think we all need it. Thank you, Mayor, and thank you to all the members of the committee for being on. So today we are considering 12 resolutions that were submitted before the August deadline. The resolutions were all emailed to you a few weeks ago, as well as a summary of all the resolutions. And just a reminder that under our rules of the committee, only those mayors who are members of the committee may vote on the resolutions, although we're really pleased to be joined by a number of other mayors as well. So after we consider the resolutions that were submitted before the pre-meeting deadline, we'll then consider any new resolutions. Let me just point out that any new resolutions will require a 2/3 majority vote in order to be considered. And at this time, I'd just like to ask if there are any new resolutions that anyone would like to introduce today.
So, Mr. Chair, I think you have this on your list, and I think this is the appropriate time to suggest for that later discussion, Resolution 44. It's on software solutions for compliance of local laws and taxes for vacation rentals, and happy to speak more if now is the appropriate time.
Terrific. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you for introducing it. And what we will do is take that up. We'll probably ask you to make the motion to take that up once we've considered the other resolutions. All right. Now, let me just add that any mayor may add their name as a co-sponsor of any proposed resolution through the conference community website or the mobile app until the resolutions are committed by the executive committee, which is happening on August 31st. So if there are any resolutions that you've not yet co-sponsored, but you like to, just be aware that that's still an open opportunity. Also just want to make sure everybody knows that to the extent you feel it important to register a no vote on any resolution, you can do that as well, the same website or app, and you can do that by the 31st as well. So we'll now turn to the consideration of the resolutions that were submitted before the deadline. These include resolutions numbers 70, 71, 72, 73, 74, 75, 76, 13, 65, 16, 77, and 78. Again, that's a dozen resolutions. You should have all received those. Needless to say, if anybody needs more information about any of those resolutions, we can pull that language up, but hopefully you've received and had an opportunity to review them. And so as we have done in the past in this committee, I'm proposing that we consider all of those resolutions together. That said, any member has the right to set aside any of these resolutions for separate consideration, which would then be debated and put to a vote individually. So let me just open it to the floor and ask if any member would like to have any of these resolutions considered separately.
I would like to have resolution number 78 considered separately.
Okay, thanks, Mayor Pondo. So just to confirm the request to set aside 78 and consider that separately. We will set that aside, and just for everybody's awareness, resolution number 78 is the resolution expressing support for the PRO Act and other federal legislation to protect public employee collective bargaining. This is the resolution that Mayor Whaley spoke to just prior to the just at the start of our meeting. So let's consider the remaining resolutions, accepting number 78. We'll now entertain a motion to approve, a motion and a second to approve all of the other proposed resolutions together. Do we have a motion?
Chairman, I'd move the resolutions.
All right, thanks, Mayor McCarthy. A
I'll
second.
second.
Thanks, Mayor Keller. All right, the motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussion on that consolidated list of resolutions? Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And are there any abstentions? Okay, those resolutions have been adopted as a block, and we'll now turn our attention over to resolution number 78 regarding the PRO Act. I want to just note that we have with us the sponsor of that resolution, Mayor Romero from Tucson, Arizona. Mayor, thank you so much for joining us. What I'd like to do now, since this has been set aside for separate consideration, and I suspect there will be an amendment coming. Mayor Romero would like to ask you at this time if you'd like to say a few words about this resolution that you've sponsored.
Thank you so much, Mayor Bronin. It's wonderful to see you all, even though it's virtually. I was really looking forward to see you in person in Austin.
Oh, it's like we're having some tough technical difficulties.
Technology.
We lost you for a second there, Mayor, but
hello.
Go right ahead.
The reason that I wanted to introduce this resolution is because I have deep roots with labor. I grew up in a farm working community of Somerton, Arizona, and parents are farm workers, and pretty much all our neighbors were. And we saw firsthand what the power of organizing and labor did for the quality of life and pay of my parents and our families. Nowadays, as Mayor Whaley said, who's also co-sponsor of the resolution, we have seen more than 50 years of disparate impact of the economy and how it affects families throughout the United States, and how separate those that live in poverty and the working families are from those that are in a much better position. So pay and benefits is greatly affected and has not moved the needle in the last 50 years. And so we are seeing that disparate impact in families, especially working families that can no longer work full time and pay for their needs. And so although I appreciate the amendments submitted, they fundamentally alter the content of the resolution presented, which is to support the PRO Act and the right to collectively bargain for all workers, not just those employed in the private sector, which is good for our economies in our cities. As mayors, I believe we have a responsibility to look out for the well-being of our working families and make sure that our residents and our workers are paid well, and that they earn living wages. The PRO Act simply ensures that workers have a seat at the table to be able to participate in negotiation on wages and working conditions in their place of work. It doesn't automatically institute labor organizations in different sectors, and labor unions have fundamentally proven that having that representation improves the lives of workers. And so very simple resolution, I thought, but it really is to fight for working families in our cities. And as mayors, we understand what the needs of our residents and constituents are. And we have seen firsthand what poverty does to our families, everything from education to housing, to be able to spend in the economies of our respective cities. So therefore, I respectfully ask that you all support Resolution 78 as presented. And thank you so much, Mayor Bronin, for allowing me to speak.
Thank you, Mayor Romero. Thank you for your time and joining us today to speak on your resolution. Now, Mayor Pondo, since you had requested that that resolution be set aside, I'd like to just recognize you for any discussion on why you'd like it set aside.
Yes, a number of us have been contacted, maybe all the members of the committee, by SoftBank Group International. They're a member of the U.S. Conference of Mayors Business Council. And in response to the email that I got, I spoke with Emily Christie, who's a director. And she said that when the U.S. Conference of Mayors went through, did the process walkthrough conference call of the various resolutions, that this resolution number 78 was described as legislation to protect public employee collective bargaining. And in fact, when the chairman here just referred to it a minute ago, he referred to public employee collective bargaining. That's fine. The issue is that it affects private employment relationships and the way it is. And in fact, provisions of it conflict with the laws of 27 states in terms of right to work. And that includes Texas and includes the state of Wisconsin. So what my amendment would do is just to make it clear that it does apply to public employee collective bargaining, but doesn't get into private employer-employee relationships. That's consistent with, I think, what a lot of people have said. And it also, I think it keeps us from getting into conflict with a lot of state statutes, a majority of the states.
Keller?
Thanks, Mayor Ponto. Mayor Bowen, if I could just ask you to put on mute. Sorry about that. Thanks, Mayor Ponto. So I know you have proposed an amendment which has been shared with all the members of the committee. Would you at this time like to make a motion to amend resolution 78?
Yes, I'll move to amend motion 78 as set forth in the Word document that I submitted, which really just shifts it from being covering both private and public employment to covering public employment.
Okay. Now, I believe that proposed amendment motion having been made requires a second. Is there a second for that amendment? Not hearing a second from the committee. Let me just confirm with our parliamentarian, Tim, that if not seconded, that the amendment cannot be formally considered.
Well, from a purely technical standpoint, inside of a committee, a second would not be required. However, it does speak to the support of having it come forward. But to be in accordance with the rules, yeah, we would still be able to consider it on the request of one member of the committee.
I appreciate that clarification and my apologies. So I think what we'll now do is
Mr. Chairman, that's the parliamentarian's advice. You don't have to accept that advice.
Understood. I think out of respect for Mayor Ponto, we'll bring the motion to a vote nonetheless. Is there any further discussion? I will say in the discussion that I just want to echo both Mayor Romero's remarks as well as Mayor Whaley's remarks in support of the PRO Act and in support of the resolution as initially put forward, and also just recognizing that the core of the resolution and indeed the core of the PRO Act is clarifying which employees should be considered employees rather than private contractors. And if the resolution and then the PRO Act were narrowed to apply only to public employees, it would really fail to have the desired effect. So I will be voting against the amendment and then subsequently voting for the resolution as adopted. Would anybody else like to comment on this amendment before we vote on it? Mayor Keller?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. And I think I would just add, and I appreciate us considering it, because it's a good discussion. And I think what we've seen in America, just to kind of take a step back over the last 10 years, is the proliferation of like contracted work, which we use all the time at the city and is part of the fabric of our workforce. But I think, understanding where that line is between contractors and the ability to organize, excuse me, I think it's really important. And so, before this gig, I was a state senator once upon a time. And this issue came up all the time. And I think America just needs to get clear on it. And I'm very, I have a strong union background myself, but that's, I think, besides the point I'm trying to make, which is that we need some clarity. Right now, it's just legal ambiguity, and it's frankly actually not helping either side of the argument.
Thanks, Mayor Keller. Any other discussion? Mayor DeMaria?
Mayor, I wasn't going to say anything, but I do support Mayor Romero's resolution. This levels the playing field, pure and simple. I've walked many construction sites, or I've dealt with many. I'm a small business owner myself, and unions treat their employees right. They make sure they have benefits. They make sure they can feed their families. They make sure they can pay rent. They pay mortgages. A lot of these other companies that come in and do work, they hire labor. They fall on a job, they get hurt. There's no one to back them up, support them. It's just, I don't want to get into it. I want this committee to just vote. I just want to say I fully support Mayor Romero and the right in this whole entire resolution. So thank you. And I'll be voting in favor.
All right, thanks, Mayor. So we will now call for a vote on this amendment. Just to be clear, a yay vote would be in support of amending the underlying resolution. A no vote would be against the amendment and in favor of preserving the resolution as initially introduced. So all those in favor of amending resolution 78 as proposed? One in favor of amending. All those against amending? And any abstentions? Seeing none, the nays have it. So Mayor Ponto, thank you. The resolution, the amendment has been rejected, and we will now go on to a vote of the initial resolution. And I don't know that we had a formal introduction of this resolution. So do I have a motion from a committee member to introduce resolution 78?
Mr. Chairman, I'd so move the resolution.
Thanks, Mayor McCarthy.
Second motion, Mr. Chairman.
Thanks, Mayor Keller. Any further discussion on the resolution? Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? And any abstentions? Okay, the resolution is approved. So we have approval of all of the resolutions submitted prior to the August deadline. Again, Mayor Romero, thank you for joining us today. And we'll now move on to the introduction or consideration of the new resolution that Mayor Keller called our attention to at the beginning of the meeting. Mayor, over to you.
Sure. Well, maybe I'll briefly summarize it and then make the motion, and we'll see if it goes forward after that. But first, by way of topical discussion, this is really about software for short-term vacation rentals. And the idea is it's a fairly lightweight piece of resolution. So just so everyone knows, there's not a whole lot of surprises. But if you read this, and I think it is available either through the conference or maybe in the chat box or something, but it just has one therefore, and it says that, therefore be it resolved, the Conference of Mayors supports model cities that address local short-term rental, vacation rental compliance of local laws through successful compliance software initiatives. So this came from the Smart Cities Policy Group, which works with us a lot out of Austin. And it came to this committee really because, I know a lot of our cities, regardless of the level of regulation on short-term rentals, the way to actually collect is typically through software. So what happened in Albuquerque is we had a short-term rental task force, and we came up with some reasonable legislation that actually the industry also supported. And the interesting thing is then it was really hard to enforce. And now basically, if you just have it inside and embedded, essentially, a lot of the short-term rental websites and applications, it automatically just shaves off, whatever the appropriate sort of lodger's tax is in our case. And it really, without that, it's sort of, very burdensome for the entity to pay, but also it's terrible for the cities to track and collect. So I do think software is a really good answer, and this just encourages the conference to support that. So I think with that, I'd make a motion, I guess, to formally introduce Resolution 44, and would hope for a second.
I'll support it.
Thanks, Mayor. Motion has been made by Mayor Keller and seconded by Mayor Shore. Any further discussion? Just want to commend your work in this area, Mayor Keller, and appreciate putting the resolution before us.
Mr. Chairman, if I may.
Yep.
Yes, so this being a new resolution would now require a 2/3 vote to allow its introduction.
Thank you. So let's call for the vote on its introduction now. And I'm sorry, Tim, that's for approval and introduction together, or for introduction first and followed by approval?
It's just introduction so that it can come before the assembly and then be debatable or open to amendment.
All right, so Mayor Keller's introduced it. Let's call for the vote. All those in favor? Aye. Looks like we have a clear 2/3. So now we'll proceed, and I think we can use the prior motion and second, which was made by Mayor Keller and seconded by Mayor Shore. Any further discussion? Okay, so all those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? And any abstentions? All right, the motion carries. So that resolution 2 is approved, and that concludes our business, completes the action on resolutions. I will be presenting the resolutions adopted by this committee today to the standing, to the meeting of the executive committee on the 31st for final approval. And just another reminder that if you'd like to co-sponsor or need to register your opposition to any resolutions, you can do that prior to the 31st. As we close, we just echo the thoughts that others have said, that I wish we were all in person, and very much hope that we'll be able to be in person together just a few short months from now in January, and hope that everyone continues to be well, and despite Delta, that your communities remain as healthy as possible, and that we're able to continue our recovery as fully as possible. Finally, let me just say, I'm grateful for the opportunity to lead this committee along with Mayor Keller, and really welcome any input, any calls, anytime about work that this committee can undertake in advance of the January meeting. As Mayor Keller said early on, and as Mayor Whaley said, there's an awful lot that we on this committee can do that helps to support our collective recovery as a country and in our respective communities. And so I really look forward to working together with you to do that. And with that, let me formally conclude the meeting. And thanks again to everybody for being with us. Be well, stay healthy.
Thank you.